Hello and welcome everyone in the webinar today. The objective of the today's webinar is to build the ultimate analytics coworker, combining the semantic layers power of Kyvos with Claude Cowork. I'm Amarjit Singh Khalsa, Director of Technology with Kyvos Insights. During this webinar, you can post your questions on chat and we'll take them up towards the end of the session. With that, let's get to it. So Cloud Cowork, it's a new paradigm for enterprise analytics. The idea is very simple. If you believe Anthropic's team, it's a full collaborator. You start by describing your work, describing your outcome, and you get the finished work. Now, how do you describe your outcome and make it repeatable? When you give a goal or a task to a cowork, it plans, it executes, it looks at the results, it observes them, and it trades. And all this is happening autonomously, so you don't have to intervene. But what happens is when you give this creative freedom to any agent, you need a way to control its capability, introduce repeatability. That's where plugin comes in play and makes it a specialist. Let's talk about those plugins then. One such plugin we are going to see in the call today, which is Kyvos plugin. The idea is to give you a perfect data analyst. Typical plugin comprises of skills and commands. The skills essentially teaches your full collaborator or coworker how to think. Now, if I talk about skills, they are auto-firing. What this means is whenever you define any skill to bring in domain expertise or analytics methodology, Claude automatically picks them up whenever it deems that to call them. Whenever Claude feels that, you know what, I need this skill, something like generating a spreadsheet, generating a PDF, or in terms of analytics, or in terms of analyst, when you are giving the knowledge of when to create a cohort chart or when to do a multidimensional analysis. So these are the skills which talk mostly about how a great analyst thinks. And Claude automatically picks that up. Now, when you talk about commands, the way analyst thinks, if you want to standardize that, that's where commands come in. They give structure to these workflows and they get triggered when specifically you start with a slash, which we'll see in this session. A command typically is a multi-step process. You define the input, the workflow or the steps, and the output. They make outcome repeatable, consistent, which is a blessing, given the power of any agent. You would like it to give a creative freedom, but at the same time, when you hit the sweet spot, you would like to standardize that with a structured workflow. What questions does a command address is what a great analyst does when a specific task or a question is asked. So on skills, you have how it thinks. On commands, you are trying to standardize that. Now, how does Kyvos come into play in all this? Now, Kyvos semantic layer gives you one view, one meaning, one truth across all your BI tools, your AI agents, your analysts. So complete enterprise, the way they're looking at their data is unified. No matter which LOB you belongs to, no matter which department you work for, you all have the same definition of your metrics, which are measuring your performance. Now, when you talk about these KPIs or these matrices, they're hierarchies. So you don't have to define the country, religion, area for each department. They're standardized now. And the semantic layer understand these hierarchies and relation between different matrices. It also brings in business context and semantics. So when you ask about performance report, what combination of KPIs you're looking at, what grain you're looking at, what would be the standard set of filters that will be applied, everything become part of the definition. And everything is built on top of the governance framework. So who sees what, role level security, role-based access, everything is inbuilt in the tool. And to top it all off, what we are most proud of is a sub-second latency to give you faster queries on billions of rows. So you get unified matrices, a system that understands hierarchy and relationships, talks to your business user in their own context and semantics in a governed framework, giving you awesome speeds. In fact, not just we are proud of it, a lot of our customers have shared the happy feedbacks with us too. And finally, it's interoperable. Now, whatever we are talking about in this session here, even though we are talking in context of Cloud Cowork, but any agent can take advantage of the capabilities we are referring to, because when you talk about an agentic solution, it's as good as the data and semantics on top of which it is built. So semantics and data is being bought by Kyvos semantic layer. So where would we be, or where are we right now, and where would we be after this exercise? So we are trying to cover the journey of data to intelligence. What we have today is you have dashboards, you have BI tools, you have conversational interfaces, AI chatbots, right? But they typically focus on answering single queries. So if you ask for a KPI or a trend chart, you will get that, right? But the hardest part is on the right side. You need multi-step investigations. You need answers to RCAs. You need answers to why did my revenue drop? What was driving it? What should we do to change the course? What's the next logical step? And to make it happen, your analyst or your agent should have a typical analyst as a senior analyst expertise. So you needs to have the best methodologies. It needs to understand your semantic layer. It needs to understand your data and adapt to it. It also needs to be consistent in analytical process. So it should not be a one-time fluke or a one-shot wonder. It should be able to do this consistently over and over again. You should be able to define your repeated workflow. So for example, for one of our customers, when we were building root cause analysis steps, it's a standard. They found the best fit, they found the right spot, and they wanted to standardize it. But they wanted the flexibility of changing it in a natural language. That's what an agent can do for you in form of your skills and commands. To sum it all up, the gap isn't getting answers. It's getting trusted, multi-step analytical work, and that has to be done with the speed of thought. Now, Cowork and Kyvos semantic layer, how do they fit? Excuse me, how do they fit with one another? How all this connects? Excuse me. So a journey starts with a simple user prompt. It could be a command. It could be a natural language question. It's submitted to Cowork. That's where Kyvos plugin comes in, which we'll see in a minute, which provides you commands, which are standardized workflows, skills, how an analyst thinks, and an MCP connector to connect with the Kyvos semantic layer. What semantic layer brings for you is it brings governed view of your business context, your multidimensional models, your hierarchies, your relationship, your semantics definition and context. And all this is happening autonomously. So it's not just we'll pull in one time, as and when whatever is needed, the system will pull in with the power of MCP connector and will keep on enriching the context of LLM so that you get better and better insights. All right, so let's see it in action. Okay, so what you're seeing is Claude Cowork. You will see chat, Cowork, and code here. This Cowork feature is available on the Claude desktop app. It's available in Mac and Windows both. For now, it is available with enterprise or paid plans offered by Anthropic. So if you're meeting these prerequisites, you will be able to see Cowork in your Claude desktop app setup. After that, you'll switch to Cowork, and then let's see how can we install and find this plugin. So you go to plugins, you go to any add plugin section, you will see Anthropic's and partner plugins, and then we'll switch to personal. There are two ways to install this plugin. You can get it from GitHub, which is a repository. Advantage of getting it from GitHub is that you will be able to get updates as and when we are adding more commands and more skills, you will be able to get them right away. This is the repository. As soon as you hit sync, it will go and connect to Git and get you the plugin marketplace. Not just one plugin, the whole marketplace will be made available to you. But like me, if you don't have access to your company's, if you don't have access to GitHub, what you can do is you can simply upload the plugin. You can download this plugin zip from our website and you can upload it directly here. And then it will be set up something like this. So both ways bring you to this style where you are able to see your plugins. You will install them and then you can manage them. The repository and the URL of the website will be made available towards the end of session. So you can take a note of it. Once the plugin is installed, you are in the manage section, you will see what we have been talking about, the commands, connectors, and the skills. Since it's Kyvos plugin, we have kept it specific to connecting with the Kyvos MCP so that you can pull the data from the semantic layer. When you go to connector, to make it very easy for you guys to try it out so that you can focus on plugins capabilities, what we have done is we have pointed this to a publicly exposed semantic model where you'll be able to see a superstore's data, right? So you don't need to even configure anything. All you have to do is just go ahead and connect to this plugin like I have done. And that's all. You'll be able to directly query the publicly available semantic model. These are the 4 tools which are exposed from the MCP server. So we have access to the publicly available semantic model. So let's start querying. Let's get to it. All right. So there are many things that we can do. Let's have a look at the commands which are available to us. So you go to plugins, you go to Kyvos, you would notice that my Kyvos MCP is on, which is great. We are connected to the data source. I'm seeing analyze, which is good for getting answers for quick lookups or analysis, build dashboard, create visualizations. Many of these are available in data plugin from Anthropic as well, but we have customized them or we have changed them to be well suited with Kyvos MCP. There's one interesting command that we have added, which is discover. So it is responsible, this particular command is responsible for getting interesting insights from your data. So discover interesting insights from retail superstore, right? So this is my semantic model, which is retail superstore. And I'm looking for interesting insights. The idea is we were working with one of our customers, and what they pointed out is sometimes they don't even know the question they want to ask. They're just looking for interesting insights. So they have hidden patterns in their data that they would like an agent to have at it and explore. So we brainstormed around it and we figured out a way to build a skill or a command, if you may call it, which is doing an unsupervised discovery on top of your semantic model. So because we understand the relations between different KPIs and different matrices, because we understand how the semantic model is built, the context that business is looking at, since we have exposure to all these definitions and beautiful thing is everything is in a unified setup. So these insights are not only applicable for one of the LOBs, they are applicable for the whole organization. Since we have all that visibility, what we are doing is we are able to actually do a discovery from your data. So you would see this MCP call, which is Kyvos list semantic model, gets you all semantic model and its querying context and business context, which is available with that. Then comes in the model columns, the KPIs, along which it will be trying to figure out what are the relationships it's looking for. Okay. So these are just a few which it listed. There are many more in it. And these are the type of unsupervised analysis that it will be doing. It will be covering temporal. It will be doing a temporal analysis, looking for segment cardinality, metric ranges. So when you are analyzing sales and profit, how do they look together, right? So and all of these you are able to do because they are encoded in commands, right? So and even if you're able to write these in commands, in order to come up with the right set of relationships, you need to have a semantic layer. So the combination of ability to write all this in natural language through MD files and to be able to actually carry it out because you have access to all this context and semantic layer, that's what make it so powerful. So and you would notice it's running these multiple queries based on it. It's even updating the to-do list and it's keep on executing multiple queries, and all these queries, any of these queries, it's not just running on one of the system, one of the piece of the data, it's running at the complete semantic model to give you the holistic picture of it. So we let it found fantastic insights, but I would let it create a visual implementation of it. So we'll be seeing it in form of a dashboard. While it's doing that, and as we were mentioning in the initial part of the session, everything is happening autonomously. So after executing bunch of queries, whatever it found, it executing, it's updating its to-do list and firing a fresh set of queries to figure out more interesting insights. That's the beauty of the agentic setup. All right, so we'll let it do its job, and while it's doing that, we'll just trigger one more simple task so that we are able to see what a normal query would look like. So I want to analyze, okay, this is little. So we want to analyze sales from retail superstore, which is our store, which is our semantic model. So I'm not putting a lot of emphasis on the question itself because the power goes with the command and the semantic layer. So I'll just leave it to that. So my question is simple, but we hope to get an interesting answer out of it. Listing semantic models, finding the right model, and on the right you can see there's a complete stage-wise plan. In the context, we have our Kyvos MCP server and the command in the context. So for this particular command, which is relatively simpler, the idea is just to do a multi-facet or multi-dimensional analysis. So just tell me about the categories, tell me about the regions, etc. So don't limit your analysis to one of the categories as we are leaving it open in the question. So that's the idea. In fact, yeah, so let it execute that, and let's see if the discover is complete. All right, so we have it here. So this is one we ran. Let's open the view dashboard capabilities. Interesting. So the first interesting insight it gave us is the discount death spiral. So we are seeing that beyond 20%, wherever we are giving discounts, we are not getting good margins. Okay. Canada is the overlooked gold mine. So it has less number of share in total sales, but a fair amount of profit margin. Interesting. So you would notice these are not anomalies because these are the emerging patterns from your data. Now, this could very well be an anomaly, but we never asked it to look for certain anomalies in certain dimensions. So it's able to figure out those relationships from semantic model and draw this out. So December is the silent profit crisis month. Got it. And tables are the categories or the subcategory where we are losing a lot of money. So all the subcategories are bringing you something except tables. Now you would notice that it's not focused again on one of the dimension. It's focused on relation between multiple dimension. It's focused on different facets of the same semantic model. So it's actually a unsupervised discovery coming out of it. So it's not just these patterns which it looked for. It looked for everything, and there are patterns which it rejected because they were not interesting or non-obvious. So that these are the type of dashboards which are created with the power of the semantic layer and analytical capabilities that agent brings to us. On a simpler note, let's look at this guy. When you simply analyze the sales, you get overall KPIs, year-over-year trend, sales by category, by region, by subcategories, customer segment, and what are your key takeaways. Plain and simple analysis. In fact, I was just working around, and we may be working on more such skills where we can bring you the workflows which are able to combine the power of Cowork and semantic model. All right. Now, so you saw what it can do with the semantic model, which we have exposed publicly, but the question is what it can do on your own data. So that's where the customize comes in. What you can do is you can go to Kyvos section in the connector. You can edit this particular connector plugin, and that will take you to this place where you can specify your URL, and then it will, as simple as that, it will start pointing to your connector. And when it comes to security, it is backed by OAuth. So as soon as you configure it, it will, and you install this plugin after that, it will give you a pop-up where you will be providing your credentials. It will be saving OAuth and will be connecting from that. So only access that you have, you will only be able to see that data. Now, apart from customizing your own connection in this, you can add more and more commands, or even you can customize it based on your domain by hitting this customize button. The moment you do that, it takes you to this command customize Kyvos plugin for me based on my company's data. So when you say my company, it's basically looking at your semantic model because it's connected to your MCP server. So in that case, it will be directly pulling in your semantic model details from your MCP server and configuring domain skills or configuring the way you analyze. You can do that. It's actually a very interesting process. It will take 10 odd minutes. It will ask, the Claude will ask multiple questions to you in the process. You can answer it, and that way you can customize that. Also, I wouldn't stop just leveraging plugin features. In fact, what I personally find more interesting is you have this ability of writing your own skills. So one of the things that we were discussing with a customer is, and it's just a fun one. It just came out as a joke where we are working on a narrate story. So whether it's analyze or whether you are discovering insight, maybe you want to see the data in form of a story. So what you can do is you can create your own skills and upload it here. Once you do that, since we were, as we talked earlier in the session, that whatever you define here, Claude automatically takes that in consideration when it is running these workflows, or you can customize workflow to also have present the outcomes in form of a narrate story. So that way you will be able to, I don't have one configured here, the narrate story one, but you can simply start a new task and just start with analyze the sales. Uh-oh. For retail superstore. And let's say focus on categories and present the outcome as using narrate story skill. So it's as simple as that. So the output it will generate will follow the narrate story skill, but the workflow it will follow will go for the analyze. So in order to customize it, you can go ahead and start pointing your own connector. You can customize it from the plugin section, or you can write your own skills. With all that, you will be able to make this your own plugin and leverage the semantic layer in best possible way as a multi-agentic setup. So I'll let it run, and it's going to generate an interesting story coming out of the category, but I have one eye on the clock as well. So let's see if we are able to complete it in next few minutes. All right. Let me go back to presentation. So we'll let that run and go back there in a couple of minutes. So so you can download this plugin, which I just showed you from GitHub using this link, or you can go to this website and download it from there and just upload the zip like I showed you in the demonstration. Okay. So while it is running, let's take some of the questions. Okay. All right. The first one is, how is Cowork different from just Claude Chat with Kyvos MCP connector? All right. So I think the answer lies in it's the way Anthropic says this. It's a full collaborator. So you're not just focusing on, building or combining MCPs together and invoking their skills. It's actually the power of commands that you are getting with Cowork. And so you are able to orchestrate and automate the complete workflows like we did with the discover command. So you are able to build an unsupervised discovery engine and present the output in form of a dashboard which you can save in your local drives. So it's actually a coworker and a full collaborator. Can we restrict which semantic models the agent have access to? That's true. When you're configuring the MCP connector, if you're one of our early customers, you may be connecting with MCP remote commands. So those are still valid. The another type which I showed you in the session, which is OAuth via HTTP, that's also true. So you can connect with both ways, but whenever you are connecting with either of them, you can configure the folder that will be accessible to this MCP connector. Whatever semantic models you provision for that folder, only those semantic models will be accessible via agent. Yeah, can we connect it with the MCP remote command was the next question. Yeah, of course you can do that. Discover command, we already covered in detail. So it's a very good tool for unsupervised learning. The next one is interesting. How can we convert our runbooks into skills? Now, you can use the create skill feature provided by Claude. All you have to do is you have to think of your runbook as the workflows. You have to focus on creating inputs, workflow, and output kind of blocks, and you will be able to create them as commands. I would recommend them converting your runbooks into commands rather than converting them into skills. And like we were able to do with discover or analyze, you would be able to see the same things in actions, right? Let's see if we are done with the narrate story. So the same analyze command, but here the outcome is in form of story. So 3 categories, one hidden wound. The outcomes are more dramatic. So the setup across full data set retail superstore runs on 3 pillars: technology, furniture, and office supplies. So combining with 7.7 million in sales, what's beneath the surface? What's the turning point? Table subcategory, which we saw with the discovery as well. The drift worsens from 23 to 24 and where it stands now. So you would notice that it's starting with the setup, what's happening, where it turned, more like a Hollywood story, where you are able to see your outcome in the whole journey of how your data or your categories, specifically because we talked about or he asked about categories, how your categories are behaving over a period of time. So this is just one way. You can certainly see this in form of a dashboard as well. All right. So yeah, you see all those narrative backed by the data. So your data, your charts are telling you the story in textual form, as a twisting tail, at the same time in form of the dashboard. So pick you choose. Choose your book. All right. I think that's all we have. If there are any questions which were not answered in this session, we'll reach out to you guys and send the responses in the email. So looking at the time, it's time to say, all right, goodbye. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time.